It's been about a year or just over since I got into the Sony system, and during that period of time I have been experimenting a lot with lenses. I've purchased, sold, repurchased, sold, and it's just basically been a bit of a mess. Now, I'm quite lucky that through this YouTube channel I can buy and sell gear and try different lenses, borrow, all that kind of stuff, which basically gives me a wide range of options in terms of figuring out what's the best for me. And after 14 months of all of this buying, trading, selling, I have come up with a set of lenses that in my opinion are the best for the Sony system. Obviously the best is very subjective, it depends on what you do and what you don't do. But for me, for someone who does street photography and travels a lot, this set of lenses covers every single thing that I need, and in this video I will share them with you and explain the pros and cons of each one. In total there are 2 zooms and 3 primes, and we'll start with the first zoom, which is over here. It is the 24-70 f2.8 Mark II. This lens is my go-to travel lens. If I could only keep one lens for the rest of my life, it would be the 24-70. It's a focal range that covers pretty much everything that you need outside of the extremes, and if you're using it with a higher megapixel camera like the A7R, you can actually crop in and still get very good resolution. The lens is incredibly sharp, the colors are great. It's not the smallest and most compact lens, especially when extended, but it is still not too bad. I've traveled with this extensively over the last few months and it has never left the A7 R5 body. There are a few particular features of this lens that I really appreciate. The first one being the 2 custom mode buttons. Now, most of the more expensive Sony lenses would have that, and it's basically you can customize it to do whatever task you want. I have it set to manual focus hold, so when I'm holding this button I can then use the finger on the focus ring to fine-tune the focus. This works especially well when shooting reflections and going for any kind of abstract shots where the autofocus system would simply get confused as to what you're trying to do. In this particular lens, what I appreciate is that there are 2 of them. Now, they still do the same thing, it's effectively one button, but it just makes it so much easier for finger placement when you're going from landscape to portrait orientation. Another thing that I love about this lens is the smooth and tight switch. So when it's smooth, very easy to zoom in and out, and when you flick it to tight, it becomes a lot more difficult. I would use smooth when I'm always changing focal lengths, when I'm running around trying to shoot everything, and I use tight if I'm shooting video, so I don't want any accidental lens movements, or if I want to lock the lens in, let's say 35mm, and just leave it in that focal length until I decide to change it later. There's one negative about this lens that I could find, is that the filter thread is massive. I'm not sure why the design's like that. Maybe they had to do it that way to make it smaller in other areas, but this is a huge, 82mm thread, which means I have to carry this giant thread with me, filter, sorry, if I want to shoot a video, for example. It's a small price to pay, but yeah, overall, my go-to travel lens. The second zoom is the Sony 24-50 f2.8. Some people might be wondering, why on earth do you need 2 zooms? The answer is quite simple. The 24-70, which is right here, is a traditional zoom lens. Starts at 24mm, and when you zoom in, it goes to 70. Whereas this one starts at 50mm, and when you extend the barrel like so, it actually zooms out from 50 to 24mm. So for me, this is my go-to street photography lens, and unless I'm shooting in low light conditions, or for whatever reason I need a lot of background blur, which is quite rare for my style of photography, this is the lens that I would use for 99% of cases, because for me this acts as a 50mm prime. It's very compact. As a matter of fact, if I compare it to, where is it? This is an f1.4 prime, and as you can see, it's the same size. So this is a prime, 50mm, and if for whatever reason I need to zoom out, I can by zooming in, out, but you know what I mean by extending the barrel. The best thing is between 35 and 50, that extension is actually quite minimal. Now, a few things I don't like about it. It is a little bit on the cheaper side in terms of the body feeling compared to the more expensive zoom. So for example, if I'm shooting on a very hot day, I find a bit more resistance in the barrel when zooming in and out, whereas with the other one, you don't get that. Other little things, you don't get the smooth and tight switch, but also you only have one custom button. So if you're shooting, going from portrait to landscape or the other way around, you have to move your finger if you want to use this. I typically don't travel with this lens that much unless I'm going specifically for street photography or if I'm going to be shooting mostly in a city. But yeah, very, very good lens, my go-to street photography lens. Yeah, very good. This is a little 40mm f2.4 pancake prime from Sony, and this is what I have pretty much married to the Sony a7CR, which creates a tiny compact package. Now the good thing with this is a 40mm, which is my preferred focal length for an everyday kind of point and shoot lens, but you can also get exactly the same in a 24 and a 50 if that's what you prefer. This is great to just throw it around your neck. It's light, you don't even feel that it's on there. The image quality is great. I mean, it's not going to compare to the bigger, more expensive lenses, but it is absolutely fine. You get the little custom button as well, which is great. You get the aperture ring. And overall, this is my backup lens when I'm traveling. So I made a video about it a little while ago, but basically my travel setup is the a7R5 with the 24-70 and the a7CR with this little 40mm pancake. Absolutely love this lens if I just want to go for a walk and not have to worry too much about gear or really pay attention to photography, just have something on me in case. This is the lens for that. The next prime is not a Sony, it's actually a Sigma, and it's the 90mm f2.8. Now, I had to get this lens from Hong Kong because in the UK, for whatever reason, it seems to be discontinued. Maybe it's back now, I am not sure. This lens is absolutely incredible. Now, does it have the best image quality? No. Does it have the best, let's just say, lens performance in terms of barrel distortion and other technical terms that I don't really care for? No. You need to do a bit of correcting, but Lightroom does all that automatically anyway. But it's a 90mm f2.8 and look how tiny this is. You can put this in a coat pocket and have a telephoto prime at all times. This actually this actually comes along with the 24-50. So the 24-50 is on the camera at all times and this little thing is in the sling. Therefore, I am covered for pretty much all focal lengths because if I take this, put it on the a7R5, shoot in APS-C mode, I'm technically getting 135mm, which for cities or for many things is more than enough. It doesn't have any custom buttons. It's not 100% weather sealed, unlike all of the other Sony lenses, but it's a small price to pay, and I wish Sony would make something that's that compact because the closest thing they make is noticeably bigger than this. I mean, it's insane how small this little thing is. So yeah. And the last prime is the 35mm f1.4 from Sony. If I had to pick one focal length for the rest of my life, it would be the 35mm. And if I had to then pick a lens with that focal length, it would be this one. This is my low light lens. I will use it at night. I will use it during blue hour. I can crop in as much as I want because the lens is incredibly sharp, especially when combined with a high resolution sensor. It's not the smallest lens for a prime. I mean, again, I come from Fujifilm where the lenses were quite a bit smaller, so this is noticeably bigger, but it's not too bad for the performance that you get. The image quality is fantastic, and you also get the custom button, full weather sealing and all that kind of stuff. I wish there was a second custom button. I'm not sure why there isn't. Instead, they put a label of what lens this is, just in case you forget. But I wish instead of just putting all their marketing crap all over the lens, they've put a second button, which would have been a bit more useful. Other than that, love this lens. You can get it in a 50mm, a 24mm, which come in the same package if you prefer those focal lengths. There is an 85 that they do, but it's quite noticeably bigger, whereas this is, I think, the perfect size, especially if you're using it with the larger body. And that's it. So between all of these lenses, I am covered for pretty much everything. As I've said at the start, these are not necessarily the best lenses from a technical standpoint, but they just do certain jobs really, really well that for me makes owning them worth every single penny. Now, if I didn't mention it at the start of the video, I just want to say maybe again that this is in no way sponsored or endorsed. These brands have no idea who I am, and I am not here to try and make you buy something. I am simply sharing my experience. So if you are in a Sony system or you've just got into it, this might help you in some way. Right, I don't want to waste too much more of your time because this video does not need to be drawn out. So hopefully it's short and sweet, and that is it. If you do have any questions about any of these, please write them down below. Do remember, I am not a technical person. I use camera gear rather than learn about the specs. So if it's like generic questions about living with these lenses, please write that. But if it's a what f-stop will give you the sharpest photo of a seagull eating a chip, I might not be the person for you to answer that accurately. Okay, thank you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. At this point, I want to quickly thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've been a paying customer way before they supported the channel and have now been using their services for over 5 years. Squarespace is at the center of my online presence, and it's what drives my blog, portfolio, store, and newsletter. I appreciate the simplicity of managing everything from a single app because it saves me time and gives me peace of mind knowing that I can make changes or deal with issues from my phone. If you have a business, a side hustle, or simply want your own little corner of the internet to host your photography or build something big, Squarespace offers all the tools you need across all devices. If you want to learn more, get a free trial and then 10% off your first purchase, use the link in the description or enter code RomanFox at checkout. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring, and thank you for watching.